She had stopped counting the days since the moment her family sold her away. It was easier to let the hours blend together in the endless gray of the holding camp, where the air smelled of rust and fear, and the cold metal floors bit into her bare feet. With every step she took, she had once believed that her family loved her, but love, it seemed, could be traded like any other commodity. When the debt collectors had come to their small home in the outer, rings she had been pushed forward her wrists. Bound, and her mother had looked away while her father signed the transfer. She had not cried, then she had felt nothing, only the echo of betrayal ringing louder than the shouts around her. She had been taken across the sector, shoved into a transport with dozens of others, and brought here to this forsaken station, where beings from countless worlds waited for buyers. She was small for her kinder eyes, too bright her hair tangled and unkempt, but that seemed to make her more valuable to those who saw. Only what they could use. There were whispers of what happened to the ones chosen, and those whispers kept her awake at night. She had seen enough already to know they were true. The camp was guarded by machines, and men both cruel in different ways. One liked to watch her flinch when he pretended to strike, the other preferred to ignore her existence, as though she were nothing more than a shadow in the corridor. Days blended into each other until one evening the buyers came. There were 3 of them. 2 alien merchants draped in fine cloth, and 1 human, his jacket worn, his boots scuffed. But his eyes were sharp, scanning the line of captives with something that was not hunger nor cruelty. The merchants moved down the line, stopping to inspect each captive, lifting chins, pulling arms, twisting bodies to check for strength. When they reached her, one of them grinned, showing rows of pointed teeth. He reached to grab her chin, but the human stepped forward without asking how much for her. The human said, his voice low. The merchant glanced at him. Surprised you want this one. She is small, fragile, will not survive long. The human simply repeated how much they haggled in a language she did not know. The human did not waver. Finally, a credit chip changed hands, and just like that, she was his property. She expected him to lead her to another cage, another place where she would serve and suffer. Instead, he walked her out of the market, past the guards who barely looked at them through winding corridors, until they reached a docking bay where a small battered ship waited. He motioned for her to follow. She hesitated, unsure if this was another trick, but there was something in his eyes, steady and unyielding, that made her take a step forward. Inside the ship, the air was warmer, carrying the faint scent of oil and something sweet. He closed the hatch, and for the first time since she had been sold, she felt the tension in her chest loosen. You are safe here, he said. She did not believe him at first. No one had ever told her that before, or if they had, it had been a lie. But he gave her food, real food, not the gray paste of the camp, and water that tasted clean. He gave her a blanket and let her sit by the heat panel. Without demanding anything in return, she watched him from the corner of her eye as he piloted the ship, his hands moving over the controls with easy precision. Why, she asked finally, why did you take me? His jaw tightened. Because no one should be sold like that, not while I can do something about it. She wanted to believe him, but belief was dangerous still. When they stopped at a quiet station far from the trade routes, he did not leave her behind. He bought her clothes, showed her how to use the ship's systems, taught her the names of the stars they passed. She began to feel something she had not felt in a long time, hope. But the past was not so easily left behind. The ones who had sold her, the merchants who had lost her, they wanted her back. She overheard him speaking on the comm one night, his voice sharp with anger. You will not touch her again. I do not care what you think you own. She is under my protection. After that, he moved the ship, constantly never staying in one place for more than a day. Sometimes they hit in asteroid belts. Other times they docked on moons so remote they did not appear on maps. Through it all, he never raised his voice to her, never struck her, never treated her as less than an equal. He asked her what she wanted for the first time in her life. She thought about the answer. She wanted freedom. She wanted to see the world she had only glimpsed from the transport windows. She wanted to feel the sun of her home world on her face. Without chains, he promised her they would find a way. The promise was tested sooner than either of them expected. One night, as they slept, the ship's alarms blared. The screen showed a massive cruiser bearing the insignia of the merchant guild, the same guild that had bought her. The human cursed under his breath, strapped himself into the pilot's chair and began evasive maneuvers, but the cruiser was faster. His weapons locked on them. She could see the determination in his eyes as he prepared for a fight. One they could not win, not with their small ship. Then he did something she did not understand. He opened a channel and spoke directly to the guild captain, his voice calm, but edged with steel. You know who I am. You know what I can do. If you take one step closer, I will make sure every system in your ship shuts down before you can fire. The captain laughed, but there was a flicker of uncertainty. The human leaned forward and said, try me. The cruiser held position for a long moment, then slowly turned away. She stared at him in shock. What did you do? I made a promise, he said, and I'd keep my promises after that. She knew she could trust him, truly trust him, not because he had saved her once, but because he had chosen to protect her again and again, even when it was dangerous, even when it would have been easier to walk away over. Time she began to smile again, to laugh at his dry jokes, to tell him about the flowers that grew on the cliffs near her home, the songs her mother used to sing. Before everything had gone wrong, he listened, as though every word mattered. He told her about the battles he had fought, the friends he had lost, the reasons he could not stand to see someone caged when they could be free one day, as they stood on the deck of his ship, watching a sunrise over a crystal ocean. He handed her a small metal disc. "This is your freedom papers," he said. "You are no one's property. Now you never will be again." She held the disc in her hands, feeling the weight of the reality of it. Tears blurred her vision. She did not know how to thank him. He smiled and said, "Live, that will be thanks enough." So she traveled with him across the stars, learning the ways of new worlds, walking under skies. She had never imagined meeting people who treated her as a person, not a possession, and though her past still lingered like a shadow, she knew it would never consume her again, because one human had seen her not as a thing to be bought and sold, but as someone worth saving, worth fighting for, worth believing in, and that had changed everything forever. You dying bet to fight them before they find safety.